Hi everyone, today's speed build is my creation for the YouTube of Horrors collab or competition hosted by Miss Unfortunate. The details are listed below in the description, so be sure to check it out if you would like to win a free stuff pack. Now that that's out of the way, I'm going to be telling you the story of this house and why I chose it for the horror collab. If you're wondering why I'm talking like this, it's because we're supposed to tell you a scary story, and I don't know how to speak in a scary way, so I'm just gonna talk like this. The story of this home began in the late 1860s to early 1870s. I mean, that's when it was built anyway. But the haunting history of this home wouldn't come to light until the mid-1990s, when a newlywed couple, Tony and Deborah Pigman, moved in. Deborah was pregnant when they first moved into the home, and while the couple did experience some strange goings-on, like the lights turning on and off, and Deborah being hit in the face by an unseen force, they didn't really think of it as being paranormal at first. Although I don't know why, because if I was hit in the face by something I couldn't see, I think that's some pretty weird shit. But how do I know, you might wonder? Well, I bought Deborah Pigman's book, so I could get the info straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. But anyway, it actually wasn't until after Deborah gave birth that they started to realize they weren't alone. For the first couple of weeks having their newborn home, they couldn't seem to get him to sleep for the night because every time they placed him in the crib in the nursery, he'd wake up minutes later. After being exhausted for days, the couple agreed to have Deb's sister come help them for a week to allow them to get some much-needed rest. And while it was a great week of relaxation, it would end up being the start of the real scary stuff. The night before Deb's sister went back home, they all went to visit with Tony's family, and when they returned home, they found that all the stuffed animals in the nursery were moved to the floor and set up in a perfect circle in the middle of the room. Not really knowing what to do, they picked up all the toys and they called around asking if anyone had stopped by and moved the toys, maybe playing a joke on them or something. But there was no explanation for it. After they picked up all the toys, the couple and their sister turned off the light in the room and went back downstairs. But once they were at the bottom of the stairs, they looked up and saw the light was back on. Wow, this ghost isn't very considerate of their power bill. They all went back up together to see, and one of the teddy bears they had just put on the chair was back in the middle of the floor, facing up. Terrified, they all ended up sleeping in the same room that night. After all that happened, Deborah decided to do some digging into the history of the house, and Tony said he would ask his boss's sister what she might think about what happened since she was a known psychic in town. Deborah asked her mother-in-law if she could find out if the previous tenant of the home had any weird experiences because she was friends with the mother of the woman that lived there before them. When Tony got home, he told Deborah that the psychic had a strong sense of a spirit of a little girl being in their home, and that the name Sallie kept coming to her mind. This was very shocking to Deborah because Tony's mom told her that when she spoke to her friend, she said that her daughter, the previous tenant, told her that her daughter had an imaginary friend that she would always play with in the walk-in closet, and her imaginary friend's name was, you guessed it, Gabriella. Just kidding, it was Sallie. After having the psychic come to their home and confirm that the spirit of Sallie was there, she described her as a 7-year-old with brown curly hair who had lived around 1930 to maybe the 1940s. Feeling bad for the deceased child's spirit, Deborah decided to welcome the presence of the girl and even developed a kind of relationship with her. In her attempts to keep the spirit of Sallie happy and calm, Deborah bought toys and put it in a corner of the nursery she designated for the little girl, claiming it Sallie's corner. On a regular basis, Deborah even spoke to Sallie out loud to let her know she cared about her and thought of her as part of their family. Oh, Deborah, you're just asking for trouble, girl. And yes, trouble would soon follow. After months of experiencing things such as pictures turning upside down, fires starting out of nowhere, objects moving on their own, and more, it started to seem that there were more spirits present than just an innocent young girl they knew as Sallie. It started to become a frequent occurrence for Deborah's husband, Tony, to be scratched by the spirit or spirits in the home. And not just light scrapes but cuts that drew a fair amount of blood on most occasions. Some of the scratches were even documented by the popular TV show of the time, Sightings, when the crew visited to try to catch some of their experiences on video. But why would a little girl that was welcomed by the family scratch her surrogate father in such a way that it would bleed and scar him in some cases? It's a common theory that when a demonic entity is haunting a home, that it will disguise itself as a child to trick the members of the home into allowing the entity to stay, and therefore give him power and permission to wreak havoc that he might not otherwise have. After all, evil spirits are known for scratching their victims. And what about the other occurrences? The fires, the pictures being turned upside down. Do those seem to be the work of a little girl? What do you think? Would you welcome any spirits into your home if you thought they were just innocent children? Was Sallie maybe just one of the many spirits there, and she just got a bad rap for things she didn't do? Or was it a demon the whole time, pretending to be a little girl? I guess we'll never really know the truth of the Sallie House.